Hello there again. This is my presentation number 2. I was talking about happiness. I would like to continue my presentation in the same line. Being an engineer and having taught a course thermodynamics for a number of years, I've come to ask the question, what is the best that can happen? I have thought about this question a number of times. What is the best we can have in the world? Again, I got the answer to my question in a very unique way, which I'd like to share with you. That is a vision I had in Phoenix, Arizona, a number of years ago. I was attending a seminar in Phoenix. At that time, I was a professor at Arizona State University. At the break time, which as you know, the seminars usually they have different sessions, 1.5 hours or so, then they have a break for 15-20 minutes, then continue another session. At one of these breaks, when everybody left the hall to go and have a coffee or tea to drink or whatever, I had the interest, I had the urge of sitting down and meditating. I found a chair in a corner of this busy hall. I sat there quietly and closed my eyes and relaxed myself. I saw the following. I saw that I was dead, I died, I was buried, and I was born again. But I was born to a very unique and interesting world. The interesting part of this world was that first there was no war in this world, there was no struggle, there was no conflict in this world. As a result, there was no ammunition, no weapons, no conflicts. As a result, there was no army, there was no reason to have border guards, and there was no crime or offenses of any kind. Therefore, there was no need for courts or judges, policemen, and so forth. That was such a beautiful and peaceful world that I could witness as something which I never believed which was possible. Another unique thing about this world was that there was no need for money, and there was no boundaries between the countries. People were free to move from one place to other place, to live and work wherever they wanted. There was no need for money to be used to purchase anything. Everybody who had a profession was exercising his profession to the best of his ability. The stores were full of goods for people to go and pick them up. There were clerks in the stores to help people, but they simply picked up whatever they needed and just left. They didn't have to pay any money because there was no need for money. Another interesting thing was that people need to work only 20-25 hours per week instead of about 40 hours per week, which they do now. That was all the time needed because there was no overhead for policemen, for military, for judges, for prisons, and so forth in this world. And people lived peacefully and very happily. The rest of the time, more than 20-25 hours they worked, they spent in nature to give in love to each other, particularly to older people and younger people, and enjoy the nature, birds, trees, flowers, and so forth, and simply have a good time. I wondered about this world. I knew that I was not sleeping. I could hear all the noise in the background. This was like a dream, a vision which I know whether it was at all possible. But anyway, that was something which I saw it as the best which can be possible, which we can hope for. A world without any conflict, without any crime, without any wars between people, between nations, and so forth. Is it possible? I believe this is possible if we change our attitude toward attaining happiness. I mentioned when I was on sabbatical leave about 20 years ago at the University in Southern California, I wondered about happiness. I thought about happiness. I noticed that people are always after attaining more happiness. But great majority of the people in the world believe that wealth, fame, and power bring them happiness. Therefore, they were wealthy, but they tried to increase their wealth, make more money, believing that more money will bring them more happiness. Or they were powerful, they had power, but they wanted to be more powerful with the hope, with the belief that with more power they will be happy. We know this is not the case. We know that simply increasing our happiness doesn't guarantee increasing our wealth doesn't increase our happiness, or one increasing his power doesn't increase his happiness. Therefore, if we want to be happy, if we want to have a happy society, we have to change our attitude toward securing and increasing our happiness. We have to do away with this attitude of wealth and fame and power for attaining happiness. I try to think of what are the elements for attaining happiness. I mentioned earlier in my first presentation of presenting an equation which I called happinometry equation. In that equation, I try to separate the factors. For example, the equation reads as H equals to J minus F minus E. J constitutes all the elements which contribute directly to happiness. Elements like love, desire to serve, forgiveness, well-wishfulness, and things like that. F are factors which detract from happiness because of illness, malnutrition, and sickness, and so forth. E, I call them emotional miseries. Factors like anger, arrogance, vengeance, and so forth. I try to identify these parameters, both constituting J and F and E, and arbitrarily assign numbers to them, so that in your happinometry table, you can sit down every night, evaluate, for example, today, and I give an arbitrary range of numbers for love, for example, 0 to 70, and for other factors, accomplishment and forgiveness and well-wishfulness and so forth, points like 0 to 4, so that the sum of all these factors contributing to J was about 100. The same thing, I had considered 100 points for E and 200 points for F, because F for malnutrition and hunger and disease and pain, I thought that was very important. If somebody is feeling pain or is hungry or not feeling good, so happiness is not anything that he is concerned about, and he will not be happy. Anyway, I invite you to use the table, this happinometry table, in the book which you can download from the site. I call the book Love to be Happy, Secrets of Sustainable Joy. And evaluate your own happiness for a number of nights to see what are the factors. What are the factors which contribute to your happiness, and what are the factors which you are suffering from, which detract from your happiness. Then after you learn, for example, what are these factors are, you can work on yourself so that you can cultivate human values, for example, to eliminate or reduce factors like anger, arrogance, and so forth. So with the hope that filling up this table, happinometry table, for a number of nights, and cultivating human values in yourself, and more important is for for you, because love and service are the most important factors for our attaining happiness, is that you find people who need your services most, so that try to render the most effective service to those who need it most, with total love for them and without any expectation for them. Unconditional love and unselfish service are the means for attaining happiness. So I would like to stop at this point. I will continue in next presentation. I hope that you are happy. I hope all people throughout the world are happy, and I hope all beings in the world are happier. Thank you, and see you again.